Aloha, my friends, and welcome back to the Forgive Yourself podcast. My name is Brenda Reese, and today we are diving into a conversation that I know so many of you will feel in your bones, especially if you've ever felt disconnected from yourself, stuck in your head, that's me, or unsure if you could trust your own intuition again. My guest is the incredible Cathy Williams, a Melbourne-based award-winning author, facilitator, and trainer who is truly a trailblazer in the world of body-based healing and creative arts therapy. Cathy's journey is powerful. After surviving a psychologically abusive relationship and a system that failed her, she found her way back home to herself through somatic, creative, and expressive healing. Today, she helps women reconnect with their bodies as a source of wisdom, strength, and intuitive guidance. That just gives me chills. She is the founder of Intuitive Self, known for creating compassionate and playful spaces for healing. And she has a gorgeous book called Body Wisdom, and then also an upcoming new deck of oracle cards to support this, and another new book that we'll talk about towards the end. So today we're going to talk about intuition, self-trust, creative healing, emotional process, and of course, forgiveness. Cathy, welcome to the Forgive Yourself podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Brenda. It's really beautiful to be connected.
Oh, it's lovely. And of course, I love your accent. And as we were talking, like, you're a day ahead already, so it's kind of fun. You're
Yeah, it
talking to
is
us from
fun.
the future. So this is really cool. So for those of people listening that may not know who you are or know your work, because it's fascinating, can you share a little bit about your personal healing journey and what you've learned from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm a movement and expressive art therapist. But I originally started my career in the community development field. So, for many years, I was working overseas in international community development, so grassroots projects. And my desire was really to immerse myself in community and be part of capacity building programs. So it was amazing, especially at the start. I got to travel, I got to be immersed in community and culture, and I got to really connect with the land, connect with the people.
Mm.
And it was very purpose driven. We're in these projects together, working towards a common goal. And I did this for about 5, 6 years, but what happened and what I came to know was that I ended up returning back to Melbourne quite burnt out and quite jaded from this field, this industry that I had devoted myself to. And, I was very, this feeling of helplessness surrounded me. And I wasn't really sure, what I was going to do now. Like, how do I sustain myself in this field? I knew that I wanted to work with people, but I had taken on all these stories and had also been in this pattern of dedicating myself so much to my work that I was overactive in the field. And as you hinted at before, I was very much living in my mind, very productivity driven, go, go, go. And in hindsight, I realized that I was distracting myself from my feeling body, distracting myself from all of the different emotions that felt too overwhelming to actually sit with and be curious about.
Yeah.
So in this state of helplessness and feeling quite burnt out and jaded, I was invited to a women's circle. And this women's circle was so beautiful. The facilitator had just returned from her training in dance movement therapy. She completed her training at the Tamalpa Institute, so work that was founded by Anna and Daria Halprin, and they weave movement and somatics and creative arts therapy into their personal inquiry. So this women's circle was, there was no need to talk, no need to share what you were feeling in word form, but rather we were invited to move and express the story that was inside us, what had been rising to the surface that we probably hadn't given ourselves permission to feel.
Yes.
And it was incredible. It was incredibly cathartic, and I was able to identify all of the emotions that I guess I'd been distracting myself from and numbing myself to.
Mm.
So I went up to the facilitator afterwards and I was like, "What is this? I need to know more." And that started a really beautiful journey of connecting with different courses and different mentors and diving into the world of somatic movement therapy and creative arts therapy. And while I was studying this course and, yeah, being a mentee to different pioneers in the field, I was able to sit with my body and connect with my body a lot more. But at the same time, it's almost parallel to me entering this study, I met someone and started an intimate relationship. And it's so weird, reflecting back because, I feel like at that time in hindsight, I definitely feel like I knew, who I was, and I was quite ambitious, and I was constantly curious about the world around me and how where was my place in it. And very quickly, within the first couple of dates, I shared a lot of myself, um, quite trustingly with this man. And I mean, in any other in a healthy dynamic, we we want to, put our heart out there, and we want to feel like we can be ourselves and trust another with the vulnerable detailings of our heart. Um, but in this instance, the charm, the charisma, and the interest that he showed in me, um, was something that definitely made me feel desired and was very enticing. I hadn't had that kind of attention before,
Mm.
which I now, in hindsight, know as love bombing and different things. So, um, I entered this relationship, and it over the course of just under 2 years, I was slowly deteriorating, and I came to not really recognize myself. There were moments where I felt well, actually, I felt like a silent hum of anxiety during my days. We quickly moved in together. Um, you know, there was there was this hum of just feeling not quite right. And every time I sort of brought something up in the relationship, it was put back on me. So, oh no, that's something that you need to deal with. That's something that's wrong with you.
Mhm.
And I really took that on, Brenda. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's my wounds. I need to work on me." And I think, in this personal development world that we're so interested in, with that lens where we are constantly seeking to grow and develop, it can be used against us.
Yes, very much so.
Yes, and so I definitely found myself turning more towards him and, for, "Okay, like, or what," "Oh, is that right? What do I do now?" That kind of thing, and realized at the end, towards the end when I was making many attempts to leave, and I did eventually leave, and then I sought counseling, I was able to see and I started to get educated on what psychological abuse actually is.
Okay.
And it's something that, you can see from the outside, and you can start to be like, "Oh, there's a couple of red flags. That doesn't sit well with me."
Mhm.
But when you're in it, when it's all consuming and there's very strategic manipulation and coercion at play, it really plays on all of your insecurities and all of your self-doubts. So it's been quite a journey to have removed myself from that situation and to have educated myself on all of these different ways that psychological abuse can come out in actions,
Mm.
um, and really feed off your insecurities. But then there was a lot of work, which is why I was so drawn to you and the work that you do in your podcast, because at the end of the day, the biggest challenge that I had was the self-talk
Mm.
in those months and years of leaving him, where I still doubted myself. I still hated on myself. I was like, "How did I not see this before? How did I get myself into that situation? Why didn't I see this earlier?" And that kind of self-talk was so degrading and not loving, not compassionate towards myself. And I realized all of the ways in which I did have, and I do have, a really strong intuition and a really strong guidance system. And I can see, I have all these memories of when my body and when my intuition was almost, signaling, flashing to me, particularly in those first few months, and all of the ways that I ignored and dismissed those signals.
Mhm.
So my journey has been one of really coming to understand all of the different things at play here, all of the layers within the psyche and within the self, and the beauty of having studied and, almost studying parallel to these experiences and diving deep with the somatic art therapy work is that when you're studying something, you are the guinea pig. You are going into these processes yourself.
Yes.
And I got to be with my intuition in a really intentional way through the body, through what was coming out onto the page. And I developed this really strong relationship with her, which really focused on forgiveness and taking the time to have a dialogue with my intuition where I started with, "I'm so sorry for ignoring you."
Oh, I feel that. Yeah. I know I feel that deeply. Is like I've had those conversations too. Our stories are similar in the
Yes.
sense, and yet I went through several relationships of that before I understood it, right? Before I started listening to the intuition. And I'm curious for you because first I want to say thank you for sharing that. And I love how we're given the opportunity to embody the process, the healing, while we're also kind of at the same time the pain, right? We're playing with both of them at the same time. To be able to really understand it and really, like you said, we're kind of the guinea pigs. So we get to play, I'm gonna say play in
Yeah.
this field because it doesn't feel like play a lot of times, right? I mean,
No, it doesn't.
in all honesty, it can be brutal at times. Yet, we're given this opportunity to kind of just enhance ourselves and our waking up our abilities while also dealing with, I'm going to say, trauma, because there's something that drew us to these relationships. There's some familiarity that is at play here because otherwise why would I be drawn to this relationship? And so there's a connection I think of like the mind body connection and then the trauma. Would you say that is true for your story?
Absolutely. I love what you we're hinting at there around, like, all of these experiences where we're learning these different lessons,
Yes.
and we're needing to, what I love about this work as well is that it allows us to resource ourselves so that
Mhm.
we've got the capacity to hold it and to dive into it and still be functional.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yes, you said it very well.
And what's so fascinating and what I have been so curious about is that what was happening within me
Mm.
to be attracted to that
Yes.
and to believe that that toxic behavior and treatment was love.
Yes. Exactly, that's why we're drawn to it, or I deserve that, or whatever the thought process is, or the feeling is.
Yes, and what
Yeah.
is it, and there's so many fascinating parts of myself that I've dived into, the people pleaser part of me,
Mm.
the part of me that was always giving people benefit of the doubt and falling for potential and
Oh, yeah.
almost took on relationships as if they were a project. Like, "Oh, no, I can," their story really connected with me, and then I want to be there for that person. I don't feel like I can leave them, like, all
Yes.
kinds of psyche play.
Oh, I'm laughing because I relate so well, right? And not even, like, just romantic relationship, but also friendships. Different types, like, it bleeds over into all relationships. Mine was apparent in my romantic at first, too,
Yes.
like yours, and then I started to see it play out a little bit in the friendships, and that's what really started to wake me up. It's like, "Okay, what is happening here?" And being able
What's
to
going on?
yeah, what's going on, and then to trace it back, to be able to see, "Oh, this comes from childhood for me." And
Yes.
right? And the parents and the, the primary caregiver roles that of where there was the story, where there was rejection or my interpretation, right? And not getting loved the way that I felt that I needed to be loved and all these things.
Yes. One of the biggest personal wounds that I had, which, was fitting to serve me up on a platter for anyone who was willing to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But my parents divorced when they were younger. I definitely had, a sense of abandonment and a fear of
Mm,
that. So
yes.
my coping mechanism was to cage up my heart,
Ah,
lock up, be hyper independent, and not need anybody,
mm.
seemingly.
Yes, exactly.
But what happened within this dynamic is he picked up on that and he was like, "You can trust me, let me in. You need to really soften your heart and let me in here and we can
Mm,
have, us against the world. We can have this beautiful," he painted this beautiful fantasy. Um and that overwhelming sense of, there was obviously the feeling desired makes you feel really good.
oh,
But
yeah.
also, "Oh, is it me? Do I need to trust more? Do I need to open my heart more?" And he really played on that wound of mine, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I've worked on in my own personal healing is forgiving all of the parts of me that really longed for that connection,
Mm.
and, that's that longing and that yearning is okay, that's normal, that's healthy, that's okay to have and feel, and how beautiful to be someone who believes in love and someone who wants to trust and someone who wants to connect. Um, but it's also been a journey of using my discernment muscle to
Mm.
actually stay connected with my intuition in future interactions and be like, does this feel good?
Yes. Ooh, love that. I love that. And did you start to develop those, how you were mentioning in your story, and thank you for that, is these little red flags. Yellow, but red, right? We miss the red ones.
Yes.
And and did you notice that through this discernment, those you were able to trust those a little better? Right. Like, oh, I'm feeling this because I want to move into the somatic piece because
Yes,
our bodies are talking to us all the time.
all
And
the time.
so like as you were moving through this and then your healing work and even afterwards, because looking back, retrospection is important.
Yes.
But looking back, being able to build that trust, like you were saying, the forgiveness and the trust, and being able to trust that discernment.
Yes, the body has been such a resource in supporting me. It's been an ally to trust that discernment, but it
Yeah.
wasn't always that way. It
Mm.
was a real journey to intentionally foster that relationship. So when I look back on the starting months of that relationship, I can remember the moments when my intuition was signaling to me, and my intuition lives in the body, so it's very much that gut feeling, that felt
Mhm.
sense that something's off.
Yeah.
Whether it's the tension in the stomach, or the feeling of unease, or,
Yeah.
often get little tingles at the back of my neck when something I'm like, "Oh, I need to just have a pause here."
Yeah.
And Brenda, these signals were happening when I first met this person
Mm.
and in those early months. But
Mm.
because I didn't have a very strong relationship with my intuition, because I couldn't recognize those signals for what I now know they are saying,
Yeah.
I
Got it.
took the I took my mind and I put my mind up on this pedestal. So my mind was sort of being like, "Oh no, give him a chance. Like, just, hear him out." And I really prefaced the mind there and intentionally overrode the body.
Oh, yes.
And then I had a couple of years where I was, really trying to develop that relationship with the body, and I was hating on the mind, which is also not the answer.
Right. The
But,
pendulum swing.
we go from one extreme to the other. And what I've come to know and what I advocate for now and what I support women with is the gifts of the mind, the body, and the heart are
Mm.
all here. They're all working for you. In their
Mm.
own way, they're trying to protect you and support you.
Yeah.
So how do we pay attention to all three parts of ourselves? Because collectively, that's how our intuition speaks to us.
Oh, I like that. Yes. Yes. Is that what you would consider somatic? Can we go into that? Because I love that I've had experiences with somatic movement and and I've had experiences with that. And also I've done some somatic work. Um but I would love that. If you're Are you talking like when you maybe if we're in the body, is that somatic? Or maybe explain to us the somatic movement, like how did you learn to start trusting the intuition and your body, right?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So somatic movement therapy is this framework and the perspective when we're working with our whole self.
Okay.
So it's the understanding that the body, heart, mind, the body carries all of our stories, all of our lived experience. And how do we work with the whole self, because they all complement each other. They're all working together. So with somatic therapy, we're bringing in the somatic lens. So we are really preferencing the body here and saying, okay, how do we feel that in the body? Where are we
Okay.
holding that in the body?
Mm.
What does the body want to say about that? And the reason why it's so important is because when we are living in a society where we are constantly cerebral and in our head, more
Oh,
often than not, we do ignore the body. And it's not about ignoring the mind here, it's about bringing the body to the forefront as well.
okay.
So, when I'm working with someone, I've got that somatic lens where I'm noticing how they're holding their body. What's their posture? What are their movement patterns? How's their breath? And instead of being solely in the story of what we're experiencing, we're actually connecting with, okay, what are the sensations that are present here? How is that? What's the most present, most charged emotion that is here? And how is that coming through in the body?
Mm.
And what I love about this is that it gets us to actually take a pause and become more body aware.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
as we slowly, and it is a journey, we've all in one way or another disconnected or dissociated from our body, whether that is just because we're so busy and we're in our thinking mind,
Yes.
or if it's our coping way of responding to something that we've found traumatic in life.
Oh,
It's very common for us to dissociate from feeling an emotion because it's too much.
yes. I get
And
that.
so working with the body in this way, and I start really gently. It's really about just presencing. We have a body, we're in a body, being with the breath. And I don't do breath work in the sense of what's out there now in the world, but it's more about bringing our awareness to the breath and how the breath can be that connection to the present moment, the connection to our body and our felt sense, and taking into consideration the whole body. Some of the practices that I share with women is how do we just pepper the different processes in our day where we're actually connecting with our body through somatic touch. So we're feeling our whole body on the ground
Mm.
and in the space. And when we're able to start having that relationship with our body and becoming more aware of the sensations, we're then
Mhm.
able to pick up when those sensations come to light in different situations.
Ooh, I like that.
When we get signals from the body, when we realize, oh, I'm actually holding tension here. My breath's really shallow now. Or there's a tingling sensation there. And when we have an intentional session together, within that 90 minutes together, the woman might have bought something that they're working through, a challenge that they have, and we'll really presence the body. I'll be like, "Okay, what's happening in your body right now? Where do you feel that?"
Mm.
Or if they're talking about something, be like, "Okay, how is that being stored in the body?" And so we're seeing what part of the body it lives in and how it wants to be expressed. So that might be grief. That might come through in a real heaviness. And there's different ways of releasing that. Obviously, tears and crying is one of them. But how can we also, what does it need right now? Does it need to be shaken off? Does it need to be brushed off? Do we need to stomp? Do we need to move? Do we need to howl? What are the ways that the body can move and make sound that is cathartically releasing this?
Yeah. Well, this is like what a beautiful way to be with difficult emotions, right? And this sound it feels to me because this is where I have a friend that helped me through a couple times with somatic, like just the noticing and like I love the word presencing that you used. And I
Yes,
love because I can feel from you that you hold that space for someone. And that's important to me because that's safety, right? That holding the space to be able to feel in the body when we kind of cut ourselves off. And
yes.
what you're describing to me feels like just with this movement, however we want to, that what a beautiful way to be with these emotions that we're not taught to be with.
Absolutely. And I love what you just noted there. It's like it's not choreographed dance. It's not
No.
moving in a way that you're instructed or directed to.
Yeah.
It's letting the body lead. It is following the intuitive impulses of, and we do it all the time. We're adjusting our posture in a chair. We're stretching ourselves out when we
Yeah.
first wake up in the morning. In that similar vein, how do we connect to those impulses within and then
Mm.
see how the body wants to move? And the connection there with our intuition is when we get more familiar with those sensations and those impulses of how we want to move and stretch or change position, we're able to feel into the intuitive impulses of how we make decisions about something, how we
Mm.
recognize, oh, this is a yes. I'm feeling, my yes comes through when I'm feeling light, I'm feeling a bit expanded in the chest, and I feel clear. My no is very contracted. It's very like, oh no, that's, there's a boundary, a physical boundary that I'm putting up.
Mm.
But it also took me a while to recognize that and to be able to
Yeah.
know this is my clear yes and this is my clear no.
Mm.
And if I don't have a clear either or, I don't force myself to make a decision. I feel into, how do I feel about this? And I give myself time.
See, and that's what we don't do. Right?
Yes.
We don't we rely on our mind, our to make this decision when sometimes my body's like, I can feel it, it's tense, but my head says, "Yep, get it done, we gotta get it done." But it's like my body's telling me, "No. No, no,
Yes.
take a breath, let's take a breath." And I love how you describe that, just really the sensation, just notice. Give yourself just even a few minutes, I mean, at first, it's gonna take longer, but just to do that, I really appreciate you sharing that because I think that that's a lot of questions women have. Is like, how do I can't trust this.
Yes.
I can't trust this
Th-
body.
Yes. And I love what you were saying before as well about, the safety that is needed
Mm,
for us to start that relationship of self-trust again.
yes.
And, I always say that as the facilitator and the guide, I'm holding the container.
Mm.
They bring the content. I
Mm.
bring I bring my observation and I bring in some invitational prompts along the way, but they are just invitational. It really is about opening that dialogue with the body and seeing what wants to come through,
Oh,
but actually using the body as a resource. So we're getting curious about the body, but we're also using the body to ground ourselves, to
mhm.
regulate ourselves, and as we're talking about at the start, have the capacity to feel the emotions that often can feel really overwhelming. But how
Yes.
can we come back to the breath? How can we use somatic touch? How can we hold ourselves so that
Mm.
we can feel capable and feel strong to get curious about that emotion and give it expression within that safe container.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Is this part of, um because you have done so much work, and the offerings that you bring to the table with people is like, I just everything I read about you, I'm like, I'm melting here because
Oh,
it's just so beautiful. And
that's
there's
so
something
kind.
like you're welcome. There's something like creative expression or creative integration. Is this all part of that? Is that what you would put in this, but or is it something different?
Yes, so I've done training in somatic and dance movement therapy, and then I've done separate training on expressive art therapy and creative arts therapy.
Okay.
So what I do, and there's many somatic therapists out there and there's many art therapists out there, but what I love to do is combine the both of them because there's gifts and there's gems in both of them. And, through the body and through the movement, we're able also to, maybe there's different visuals that we get. There's different ways that we're opening up the psyche and opening up those neural pathways. When we bring in the art therapy, and again, this is not about being an artist. It's not about producing a masterpiece that goes in a gallery, but the support of, again, instead of bringing words to the experience straight away, we're able to continue that exploration out onto the page using our hands. Many of my sessions, Brenda, the outline is usually we're getting into the body, we're feeling safe in the body, feeling resourced. Then we go into, what does the body want to say? How does it want to move? Giving some expression there.
Yeah.
And then I use the art therapy as on the end of that bell curve to integrate our experience. So maybe we've just done 20, 40 minutes of moving, bringing in those shifts, bringing in that release, feeling into how we want to move through the world, whatever that theme is that we're
Yeah.
exploring. And then instead of finishing the movement and going straight into a debrief, I've got paper and pens and pastels for them, and they continue the exploration out onto the page. And this is in the same line of intuitive, very similar to the beautiful art piece behind you. It's that intuitive art where it's coming through. We're not thinking about what we're creating. We're just being really curious about how that wants to move on the page, colors, lines, shapes. And then in the debrief afterwards, in the connection afterwards, we're looking at the paper and or whatever art material we've used. I love playing with collage and clay and paint and all kinds of things.
Wow.
But we're able to take a moment and I invite the woman to look at what has come out and what stands out to them. How do they make meaning of that? There might be symbols that have come out there. It might remind them of a particular memory. It might be a affirmation for them that that's how they want to move through the world. And then, this beautiful tree is what keeps them grounded. It's a visual, it's a strength symbol that they can return to.
Oh, beautiful.
And the way that they combine is so beautiful. Like I'll often see, different movements coming out in the woman. And, maybe they're doing this with their hands. It's this flowy
Mm.
gesture. And whatever feeling that brings out in them, it then comes out onto the page. And, this gesture could be something that they do when their world is a bit chaotic and they need to remind themselves that, okay,
Oh.
how do I flow through this?
Oh, yeah.
And then the imagery that might come out, maybe that's, using the water element, using different lines where they can come back into a space where they feel some peace, they feel some calm.
Mm.
And I love it because, these pieces that come through, maybe it's just for process, or maybe it is an anchor point that they can put on their altar and they can look back to remind them of that when things do get a bit busy or chaotic in their life.
Oh, I love that visual, right? Having
Yeah,
something to anchor. This is it's like your work is sacred and playful, which as a
I feel that.
yeah, right? That's what it feeling to me. It's very sacred and playful, and that's something as a driven person or someone who's always doing work on themselves or a high achieving woman, which is probably who you work with, and you and I think we can both relate to that.
Yes.
That's one thing we don't do is play. We
Mm.
don't allow that play because, like for me learning that, oh, that's how I thought that I would lose control, right? By play.
Yeah.
And it was powerful to really, redefine that for myself. And that's what it seems like for you. That's what you help women do. At least that's what I'm taking from it, which is really valuable.
Yes, I love those words sacred and playful because, this work it comes from ourselves. So I'm not putting in anything. It's like all of the resources, all of the wisdom, all of the stories are coming
Mhm.
through that person's self, that person's body,
Oh,
that person's art. And it's deep, but it can also be really light and playful because they have agency over how deep they lean in.
yes.
And it's really getting back in touch with that inner child. How do we, instead of having to be in the cerebral and find words for our experience, how did we just want to play with the paper?
Yes, and that's what oh my gosh, and that's what I love because it's not about it's like tapping into that, and that's what you when you describe your session, that's what you help the woman can then sink deeper into herself so that she can let go and be able to be expressive in that way. Oh, I love that. I
Yes.
do. Now, we touched on you talked about the forgiveness of yourself.
Yes.
Um, and, especially abandoning your intuition. And this is something that is near and dear to my heart
Mhm.
because it's part of my story, not trusting the body, not trusting the intuition. And a lot of women don't even realize sometimes that they're not even trusting their body or intuition. Can you give us a little bit of information, maybe for women out there like you were at the time of like, kind of what was that process of that self-trust, right? Because that's what I
Yes.
think of. This is self-trust. What was that process like for you after everything you went through?
Yeah, it was quite sad actually at the start because I was acknowledging and recognizing that those signals had been there. My intuition had been there. My intuition is always there. She is an ally, she is a companion, she has this wisdom that she's looking out for me. And I have choice. I have choice to listen to that or to ignore it. And so many times back in the day, I thought that I knew better. So I overrode it. So coming back into relationship with her, and I say her, I like to personify my
I love
intuition.
that.
Because, I feel like she's a guide. So for me, and sometimes in different visualizations, she's come through in different forms, but Brenda, the image that stays the strongest and the most consistent is connecting with my intuition as a fireplace.
Oh,
And it's something that I really encourage women to get curious about. Like if they were to get familiar with their intuition, if their intuition was to become more known to them in a visual form, what shape would it take?
mm,
Because when we, almost personify our intuition as something, it's much more tangible to connect with.
yes.
So in my visualizations, when I want to take a moment to connect with my intuition, I will visualize a fireplace. And on some days, maybe it's a little fire which just has some dancing flames on twigs. Some days it might be a roaring bonfire. And that's very telling to me. I've come to know what that means.
Okay.
And as I was starting this relationship, I started, yeah, getting playful, getting creative. How does my intuition want to show up? What does my intuition want to say? But what I found, and it's very curious when women start to do this work and start with this inquiry, what comes through for them. But what I found, because I'd been ignoring and dismissing my intuition for so long, it's almost like I had to forgive the parts of myself that had abandoned her.
Mm.
So the start of my dialogue was really an apology. It
Uh,
was me saying sorry for all of the ways that I had thought that I knew better, and I
mm.
dismissed the signals, and I numbed myself to the signals, and full of gratitude also, like, "Thank you. Thank you for still being here. Thank you for still being in my corner, and
Mm.
I never learnt how to listen to you, but I'm really willing to listen now." And the power of this dialogue and the power of continuing this conversation with this very wise, very important part of yourself it's I think it's my biggest life lesson, and it's the biggest thing that I advocate for, because when we develop that relationship with self and that relationship with our intuition, we have this confidence. We move through the world knowing that we have backing, knowing that we've got support, and knowing that we have a guidance system that amongst all of the chaos and all of the layers of, external stuff that we can often deal with, this is a true part of us that we can return to and know that we can trust.
Mm, yes. I feel that. Oh, I just really feel that. Thank you for giving like a little prayer, a little message, a little, inspiration for people to connect. And I love the fact of a visual. I mean,
Yeah.
that I never even thought of that. It was like, that's so beautiful, and then personalizing it and calling it her and she, and it's just I just wanted to hug my intuition when you did
Yes.
that. Okay, so all this so we're coming to a close. Alright, I could talk to you for hours, I think.
It
Um,
feels that way, doesn't it? So
I
nice.
know, but all this leads to this beautiful book that you currently have called Body Wisdom. And so I wanted to chat a little bit about that, along with a couple new additions you have coming. So would you share about your body wisdom and where we can get that? And of course, any links will be in the show notes. But also, there's two other things you've got coming.
Yes. So this is my book, Body Wisdom, A
I love.
Guide to Connecting with Your Intuitive Self. And the reason I like to show it is because it's a really visual journey. I like to have different images along the way because, just to keep it interesting and entertaining for
Yeah.
the visuals in us. So there's
Yes,
different illustrations,
that's beautiful.
and there's also my own handwritten notes throughout it.
That is so personal. I love that.
It's like a warm hug.
Yeah.
So I wrote this book because and it's an 8-chapter journey, and each chapter starts with a poem. I share some of my lived experience, but the invitations, there's over 20 invitations, and it's all about kind, gentle ways to connect with yourself, connect with your body, and creatively self-discover. So for anyone who has resonated with what we've shared today about being disconnected from their body, living more in their mind space, and being curious about, what the intuition looks and feels like and how we can connect to ourselves more deeply. This is a really beautiful entry point for that because the idea when I was writing it is I'm going to share my personal practices. Hopefully that inspires readers, and how can they take inspiration from these practices and adapt them into their everyday life.
Okay.
And I really want it to be accessible because we can have this idea that we need a whole bunch of time. We need a whole day. We need to go on a week-long retreat to be
Yeah.
able to connect with this part of ourselves.
Mm,
But what I've come to learn is that as amazing as that is, and I love being able to do that and experience that for myself, but what makes it sustainable is making it a practice, coming
okay.
back to that and peppering it into our days. We know we only need 5 minutes to connect with the body and just take a
Yes.
pause.
Yes.
So this is, yeah, that's my book.
Now where can
And
we get that?
on my website,
Okay.
intuitiveself.com.au, AU because I'm in Australia, and my shop on the website has the Body Wisdom book. It's got a companion journal, and it's got different free resources. Actually, if people are interested, there is a free resource where I invite you to connect with your intuition and write a letter to her.
Oh.
And it's a downloadable PDF, and it's a really beautiful way to start that connection.
Oh, I love that. We will have that definitely in the show notes.
Yes.
Good. Do you wanna share about two new things
Yes.
that you're birthing?
So, it's been very exciting because this next product is the Body Wisdom Oracle cards.
Love
So
oracle
this
cards.
actually, and it comes in this beautiful little box.
Oh.
So this resource actually came from feedback from the community who was starting to really adapt these practices into their everyday life. And this ritual of being with oracle cards is something that is really accessible to just take a moment, to take a pause, whether they're moving through something challenging or they've got a question, how do we follow our intuition, use the cards to, shuffle through and then intuitively pull something that feels right and then there read the message on the card.
Mm.
So this is the card that I've pulled, Brenda, and that's the image there
Oh, it's beautiful.
and my handwritten notes.
I love that it's handwritten.
And this one reads, oh, this is so perfect for you. And what you embody with your
Right.
the light that you share and wanting to support others with. It
Mm.
says, I embody my light. I know my value. I do from an inspired space within. I give from the overflow of this love.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that card. Now, when are those available?
So these are launching in February 2026. They'll also be available on my website.
Okay.
And then, oh, it's so nice to have so many beautiful things to put out
I
there.
know.
So for several months over this year, I held a writing container
Okay.
and I connected with 13 women who are close women in my life who we have really done life together side by side.
Oh, love that.
And my first book's called Body Wisdom. This second book is an anthology and it's called Heart Wisdom.
Oh,
So it's a collection of women's stories and poetry and artistic creations where we each had that inquiry of presencing the heart, being
yeah.
with the heart, and letting the heart have center stage and seeing what wanted to be shared.
Oh, oh, thank you. And when is that available?
That one should be published in February as well. So we're starting 2026 off with a beautiful bang.
Oh, with so much goodness. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Cathy, for
Oh,
sharing
you're
all of that.
so
We
welcome.
links to your website and to your social media and because I really want people to and your free resources especially, or your free resource you talked about, and then the
Yes.
other resources, which I took a peek at, and I'm like, "This is good stuff." So, it's like, "Ooh, I wanna download that, and I wanna download that." So
So
thank you,
good.
thank you, thank you so much for this really wonderful, deep, and nourishing conversation. I'm so grateful to you. You know you
Thank you
know
for having me. Thank
oh,
you
you're
for this beautiful conversation. It's so beautiful to be in resonance with each other.
It is, I know, I love that, this, like, kindred spirits. And your story is such a beautiful, powerful reminder that coming home to the body, it's possible, right? It's doesn't have it's not unreachable.
Yes,
Eh
it's definitely possible, and when we have that intention and we have that curiosity, anything's possible.
Anything. Thank you. And to you, my friend that is listening, if Kathy's words resonated with you, please make sure to explore her free resource and her oracle cards and her body wisdom book and the new anthology coming out in February. And please remember, if you've abandoned your intuition or ignored your inner voice or disconnected from your body, like she shared, you can forgive yourself for that. And I love what she shared about it. Healing is a return. It's a remembering. It's not a punishment. So until next time, my friend, know that you matter. Take care. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, would you do me a favor and share this episode and then follow us on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss one episode of the Forgive Yourself podcast, where every Friday you will get tips, tools, and stories so that you can turn your pain into peace. Take care.